In today's lesson, we are going to focus on a review of percentages. This will be especially useful in the first unit coming up here in workplace. So this will be percentages. 0.7. So what exactly is a percentage? Well, I'm sure a few of you have heard me coming around and talking about per and cent, meaning of 100. So when I say that, I mean that it's really a ratio or a fraction. So it's so many per 100, or it's this many of 100. And that of is very important. So let's kind of generalize this as anything over 100. So 17 over 100 is equal to 17%. But when we're working with fractions in math, we need to work with fractions as decimals. Work with percents. I might have said fractions. I meant percents. Let me rotate. As decimals in math. So a lot of people like to think as percent as money. So if you have 100%, you could say that's equal to $1. Or you go a little bit kind of further and just knowing that 76% is equal to 0.76, which is also equal to 76 over 100. 100 being 100% being 100 over 100. So let's kind of write a little bit of a rule for this. I'm going to do an extend here, and I'm going to say converting from decimals to percent and percent to decimals. When we have a fraction out of 100, it's really easy to do. So, like I said, if it's 78 over 100, it's just 0.78, which is equal to 78%. If we have a fraction where it multiplies to 100, so let's say like 12 out of 50, we multiply this by 2 and this by 2, it's 24 over 100, 0.24, 24%. Sometimes we have fractions, though, where they don't multiply to 100. We have to divide it out. So, for example, let's go 3 over 12 is equal to 1/4 reduced. And then we could divide this by putting it into our calculator, or we could do long division. Oof, that's not how a long division works. 4 dividing into 1. We can't divide it into 1, so we put a 0 and a decimal, bring the decimal up. 4 goes into 10 2 times. 10 subtract 8 is 2. We add another 0. 20 and 5. 4 times 5 is 20. 0. So this equals 0.25, which equals 25%. Could you just throw this into your calculator and get a decimal? Absolutely. Either way works. If we want to go backwards, we need to go percentages to fractions. Let's start with 78%. is equal to 78 over 100 because percent meaning of 100. Now this is not in lowest form, so we need to make it into lowest form. So we are going to divide this by 2 because it's both even. So this is 39 over 50. So it has to be in lowest terms. Otherwise, the answer is not correct. Then we need to learn how to figure out percentages of numbers. So let's go like this. So this is really useful when we're trying to find out like how much something is discounted at a store. So for example, let's do what is 37% of 200. We have to first change this to a decimal. So this would be 0.37 and 200. Gets to stay the same. Now we need to figure out what is 37% of 200 of, in this case, means multiply. So we're just going to go 0.37 times by 200 is equal to 74. So if something was marked 37% off and the original price was 200, you'll save $74. Let's do another example here. Let's say what is 80% of 1200. Same thing. We have to convert 80% to a decimal, and in this case, it's just 0.80 times by of 1200 is equal to 960. Oh, let me rewrite that. It's not very nice looking. Okay. The same thing will be if we're trying to like calculate tax of an item. This still works with percentages, so I'm happy including this. So let's see here. When we calculate tax first, we have to change the percent to a decimal. Yeah. We multiply the price, and then we have to add in that original amount. So an example here. What is the final price of a $59 item with 5% GST, which is goods and sales service tax? So what we have to do is we have to find out what 5% is first. So $59 times by 0.05, which is equal to $2.95. And then we're going to add this together. Making sure to include all of our dollar signs here to give us a final answer of $61.95. And that works the same for anything when it comes to of money. You just have to make sure to add your PST or your GST or your HST. They all mean the same. And sometimes we have items that have 2 taxes. So what is the final price of an item that costs $100 with 5% GST and 6% PST. Because I think that's what ours is. So we start with our item price, which is $100. We times it by our GST. And we also times it by our PST. So that should be, I do believe it's $5. Let me double check though. Yeah. And this should be $6. So the total tax we pay is $11. So we have to add final price is equal to $100 plus $11 to give us $111. Okay, so you should be off to your math journal and good to go.